Everybody makes mistakes from time to time. Learn from your mistakes is a common thing to say to someone who has done something wrong. Some mistakes, on the other hand, can be very expensive, even costing billions of dollars or putting lives at risk. Architecture and building are two fields where even a small mistake can have disastrous results. Today we are going to talk about the 8 most expensive construction mistakes in the world. But before we start our countdown, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon as well. So let's get started. Number 8. Jetta Towers. The city of Jeddah in Saudi Arabia is home to a landmark known as the Jetta Tower. It is also known as the King's Tower in some circles. If you were to stack 2.5 Empire State Buildings on top of each other, it would be approximately the same height as this structure. The Jetta Tower is the first structure in the world to reach a height of 1 kilometer. This tower is the culmination of Saudi Arabia's efforts to make tourism a larger part of the country's economy, similar to what Dubai did with the famed Burj Khalifa building in Dubai. The Jetta Towers construction began in 2013 and was supposed to be finished in 2018. In 2017, there was a big purge in Saudi Arabia, and construction had to stop because of it. At that point, only a third of the project had been finished. The Saudi Arabian government locked up the main investors in the project, including Prince Al-Wadli bin Raital. Several of them were freed a few months later. During this time, there has been no progress on the building, and the tower was 252 meters tall when work stopped. The coronavirus pandemic has again messed up building plans that were supposed to start up again in 2020. Since then, the project hasn't moved forward at all. And if it were to be stopped in the middle, it would cost at least $10 billion to do so. Number 7. Berlin Brandenburg Airport. An international airport is going to be built in Germany as part of a project known as the Berlin Brandenburg Airport. The construction of the project began in 2006, and it was anticipated that it would cost $2.4 billion and be completed in 2011. However, there were several complications that came along with the project, as well as certain instances of corruption, which led to a significant delay. The first setback occurred in 2010, when a company that was participating in the planning process went out of business. Because the fire protection wasn't adequate and the airport didn't pass its operational acceptance tests, the opening of the airport continued getting pushed back more and further. In addition to that, there are 67 kilometers of cooling pipes that are not insulated in any way. In order to correct this error, it was necessary for people to break down dozens of walls and simultaneously replace all of the pipes. The final price tag, which came in at $8.3 billion, was more than 3 times higher than what had been anticipated. Number 6. Lotus Riverside disaster. In the city of Shanghai, residents can call the Lotus Riverside complex their home. In 2009, one of the buildings with 13 stories collapsed, although it was lucky enough to avoid hitting any of the other buildings, which would have likely produced a chain reaction. One construction worker was killed as a result of the fall that occurred that morning, despite the fact that the majority of individuals were able to escape in time. The investigation revealed that the collapse was brought on by poor foundations, as well as a failure to adhere to the established building requirements. Another accusation leveled against the developers was that they had compromised quality in favor of more expedient payment processing. Due to the fact that the developers were required to reimburse homeowners as well as cover the costs of construction, the potential loss to the company was as high as $30 million. Number 5. Xiangsu Bridge collapse. In 1994, the central section of the Xiangsu Bridge in Seoul, South Korea, collapsed into the Han River, which resulted in the deaths of 31 people. Although the bridge was designed to support a load of up to 36.3 tons per vehicle, drivers of vehicles weighing up to 47.3 tons have been seen crossing it in order to get to work. It cost the State Council $185,000 to pay for the lives that were cruelly lost, and it cost them $2 million to fix the bridge because of the excess weight that was placed on the bridge and an engineering mistake that was discovered during the investigation. After some time had passed, it was discovered that a number of the scheduled repairs and maintenance had not been carried out. Number 4. Sydney Opera House. The Sydney Opera House is loved all over the world, but even though it looks great, it is one of the world's worst projects in terms of both planning and building. The building was supposed to be done in 4 years and cost AU $7 million, but it took 14 years and AU $14 million to finish. Also, the Opera House became a place where the musicians couldn't hear their music because of problems with the acoustics and bad planning. The Opera House and stage production halls were switched and put in the wrong places, which led to another high cost of almost AU $300 million to fix the acoustics. Number 3. The Walkie Talkie turns into a walkie-scorchy. The odd shape of the building at 20 Fenchurch Street in London has given it the nickname the Walkie Talkie. The expensive skyscraper, which cost over £200 million to build and was finished in 2014, turned out to be a very expensive mistake. The building's glass front and radian made it look like a huge concave mirror that reflected sunlight onto the street in front of it for about 2 hours every day. Extreme heat of about 72 degrees Celsius has been said to cause tiles to break, carpets to burn, paint to melt, and even cars to melt. Because of these things, the tower got a new name, the Walkie-Scorchy. To cut down on the glare, a sunscreen was put across its curved face, but this architectural mistake cost about £10 million to fix. Number 2. The Aon Center. The Aon Center, which was built in 1974 and was called the Amico Building at the time, is now one of the tallest buildings in Chicago. At first, the building was a marvel of architecture for the city. A simple, rectangular, tubular steel-framed structure. It stood out because it was covered in Carrara marble from Tuscany, which made it the world's largest marble-covered building. But this beautiful and unique part of the building's facade started to crack because the material was so thin. This caused pieces of the slab to break off and fall to the ground below. Because of this, the building got a makeover in the 1990s. The marble was taken out and replaced with granite, which looked better but cost a lot more. The mistake in building ended up costing a whopping $80 million. Number 1. Tacoma Narrows Bridge in Washington. The Tacoma Narrows Bridge was built in 1940 in the U.S. state of Washington. It is a twin suspension bridge that crosses the Tacoma Narrows Strait. At the time it was built, it was the third largest suspension bridge and the first cable suspension bridge to use a set of plate girders to support the roadbed. The total cost of building it was estimated to be around $6 million, which with inflation is the same as $1 billion today. But the bridge that was built with all that money only lasted 4 months and 7 days. Due to flaws in the way it was built, the bridge would buckle in strong winds, and even in normal winds, it would sway. On the day it fell, the winds were about 19 meters per second, and aeroelastic flutter caused both sides of the bridge to twist in opposite directions. This caused the bridge to fall into the river. No one was hurt, which is a good thing. This engineering flaw is still talked about today, and further research led to a new theory for building: wind theory oscillations. So these are the 8 most expensive construction mistakes in the world. We hope you found our video interesting. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and share it with others. Also, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our new uploads. In the end, thanks for watching and see you next time.